Right. Hello, welcome everyone. It's good to see everyone.
Hello.
Nice, nice. Let's start by introducing ourselves, since some folks may not know who you are and how awesome you are. So I'll do the Brady Bunch calls. Genesis, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Of course. So my name is Genesis Giselle Garcia. I am currently a senior at Cal State Fullerton. I am pursuing my bachelor's degree in sociology with an emphasis in health and social welfare.
Nice, thank you, Genesis. Cesar.
Hello, my name is Cesar Romero, or Caesar, whatever works best for you. I graduated from Cal State Fullerton this previous year in 2020, majored in Spanish and minored in political science.
Woohoo, thank you for that. And Ranella.
Hi, my name is Renella Sanga, and I'm a junior English major.
All right. Thank you, Ranella. I appreciate that. And then, of course, I am Tanalson Osagaran. I serve as the Vice President for Student Affairs here at Cal State Fullerton. Woohoo! So, first of all, you all really lucked out of traveling before COVID became as widespread as it is. So that was awesome. For those of the folks who who maybe aren't familiar or have seen your webisodes of the road trip, tell us a little bit about where you traveled and when.
We stayed mainly in Southern California. We stayed in the RV park, usually in Long Beach and Newport. We traveled from Universal Studios, Hollywood to USS Midway in San Diego. We even went to Catalina Island as road trip surprise for us. We were really surprised because I got seasick and I was
Oh,
crying after the boat ride. Yeah.
yikes. I get seasick too, so it's all right. Genesis or Caesar, you can jump in.
Yeah, I think she covered, well, like she said, we stayed in Southern California. We didn't go too far. We did, however, drive a lot of miles because the distance among them all. Our first stop was in Fullerton. From Fullerton, we went to where did we go after Fullerton?
I don't know. I don't remember.
It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot, but just from the top of my head, Fullerton, San Diego, Hollywood, Los Angeles.
Wow.
I
Um,
remember we went to Garden Grove after.
oh my gosh, there's one big one too. Am I
Garden
missing?
Grove. So kind of like stuck around here. That's nice. That's good. You didn't have to go too far.
We
So it
were
seems
kind of we were kind of near at home, but we're not going home. You know.
that's kind of neat.
Mhm.
Good. Well, what motivated you, each of you to apply for the CSUF road trip experience? It's pretty unique.
I'll go first. When I applied, I was a junior at Cal State Fullerton. I was actually working at Cal State Fullerton, had a summer job there with educational partnerships. And at the time, that's when I started thinking about like, okay, what's next? Like, what am I gonna do? Started to feel that pressure, and I was on my lunch break, and I go on my email, and I see that there was just like the career center promoting that there was a road trip going on, and I was like, I'm gonna apply. Let's see what comes out of it. And I applied, and then just kind of weeks went by, and then I started getting more emails saying like, hey, you're on the next round. And then I'm like, oh shoot, like this is pretty serious. I think I might be going on a road trip soon. So for me, I just applied because I was really stuck in like, what am I gonna do next? Had a lot of doubts, a lot of anxieties, like a lot of worries. So it kind of fell like perfectly to my hands.
Wow, that's pretty unique, Cesar.
Um, for me, I was like, travel for free? Sure, why not? Sign me in. Why not? And also that time, I wanted to be more involved in school activities because not everyone gets a chance to be in
Yeah.
Cal State or in college, or just for me specifically, American University. That's not everyone could get that, but I can't really join clubs or organizations because I was working 40 hours and I had 4 classes that time. So when I saw the promotions for road trip, I knew that it was for me. I was like 95% sure that it was for me and I'm gonna get it.
Wow. So for both Cesar, for you and Ranella, it came at a good time. That's awesome. Genesis, what was it like for you?
Yeah, I'm the third one in the wheel. It was the same thing for me. I was in a boat of uncertainty. I had no idea what the heck I wanted to do with my life. Like as a junior, and I still don't know. Like I have an idea, but I'm a bit lost, you know. And I subscribed to the Career Center's emails for them to automatically like just come to my mailbox. And I saw that and I was like, interesting. And I looked into it, I applied, and it surpassed my expectations. I honestly didn't think I would get selected. Not like Ranella. Ranella's like, this is my game. As for me, I was doubtful. I was like, we're gonna try. And I did. And out of the approximately 500 applicants, roughly around,
Wow.
and we have a big student body at Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah, 40,000 or actually 41,000.
There we go. And about 500 approximately applied.
Wow.
And Caesar, Ranella, and Genesis got selected.
I was begging in my application video. I was like, please.
Hey, whatever works. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Genesis, you kind of talked about it. So I'll ask you first. What was, you talked about like, wow, the three of you out of 500, that is an intense, but what was the selection process like? How long did it take? And who did you meet with to get this like super awesome thing?
Yeah. So part of the reason why I was a bit intimidated is because I'm like, oh, yikes. Like this is Cal State staff that's going to interview me. And no, it was completely handled by Roadtrip Nation.
Oh.
And which is a production team that creates documentaries. Cal State Fullerton isn't the first school that they go on a road trip with. But it's completely funded by Cal State Fullerton. It was completely funded by Cal State Fullerton, but it was directed by Roadtrip Nation, right? So, which means that like we didn't get selected by Cal State Fullerton staff.
Oh.
We got selected through Roadtrip Nation directly and their team. And so in their team, this documentary had a vision and a goal, like a centerpiece. And if you notice at the title of the road trip, it's first generation college students, right?
Yep.
So the big goal and the big emphasis was to capture and cultivate a documentary that shows the hardships of first generation college students going against the odds. So that's a quick short synopsis of what they were looking for. And we applied, and that application process took, I don't remember exactly how long, but it was pretty long.
It was
4 months.
4 months.
For that, I was like excruciating. I was like, did I get selected? Should I submit my vacation request? I don't know.
Yeah, and I want to add on to that. So the first kind of part was filling out a questionnaire through the email. That was like round one. Just kind of asked like, why do you want to go on this road trip?
Yeah.
And kind of they wanted to get more like information to see if we fit for what like Gigi was talking about, that vision. Then after that, it was like, I think they sent another email like, okay, you made it to round 2. And then they sent another questionnaire. And then I think round 3 was like a phone interview.
Wow.
And, oh, wow, this is like next level. Like this is almost like if I'm applying to a job, which I was scared at the time. Cause I'm like, wow, this is a lot of commitment. Like I already had going on, my own work. And I'm like, okay, now I have to make time for an hour interview. But I think that was really unique because it just shows how much like Roadtrip Nation puts into it. The conversation was like super natural. Like they just really wanted to get to know me. And even through that process, like after that phone call, I'm like, wow, I think I just learned a little bit more about myself because they were asking questions that I had never really asked myself, but they were forming my identity and who I was as a college student and also as like a professional going into like the workforce too. So it was a really unique, it almost felt like I was applying for a job.
That's good practice. Good practice. So kind of, moving into from the application process to now, you have been selected and you like, get to know like, oh my God, I'm going to go on this road trip. Did any of you know each other prior to going on this road trip? Were you aware of each other? How did you get to know each other prior to or when you took the trip?
We were complete strangers to each
Yeah.
other.
Wow.
100% strangers.
The first day we like not physically met. We met through the phone. It was kind of awkward.
Oh,
Yeah. And then I I remember so we exchanged phone numbers, right? And like I remember Caesar texting me like, "Hi, and I'm Caesar." And then the first thing I told him was like, I can't drive in the freeway because we had to
oh
drive the
no.
RV.
Yes, you have to drive the
Um,
RV. I have questions about that, but that's later.
I can't do it. And that was the first thing I told him, and he got scared. So
Yeah, so Roadtrip Nation, they would set up kind of Zoom calls pre-COVID. That was like the first time I was going on Zoom calls. I'm like, whoa, it's
Look
like,
at that.
yeah, it's crazy. And they would have like meetings very similar like this. And it was kind of like us introducing ourselves to the other road trippers, but also the crew who was going to be documenting the road trip, which is super important because I mean, you're going to be living with these camera guys for at least 14 days. Like you want to be comfortable knowing who they are too, and you want to like that. They really created that environment for us to get to know them. So once we went on the road trip, it was kind of like it was not awkward at all. Like we already kind of knew each other. We built that relationship. But yeah, going back to what Renella said, she texted me. She was like, "I've never been on the freeway," and I was like, "I think I'm gonna be the one driving because I'm kind of scared about that." And then I remember texting her and then getting her Instagram, and then after that, I was able to kind of like follow her for a bit, and then just over time we got along really easy.
Yeah,
Nice.
we did. And then, but again, like I'm gonna echo what they both said. Our first conversation had to have happened over the phone call. Then it was Zoom, and we were completely new to Zoom. I remember having so many technical difficulties because I didn't know I had to connect my audio. I was like, wait, what? What is this? What? So, but anyway, that's how we met, and then we started to meet in the Roadtrip Nation office, which is
Oh,
in Costa Mesa.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we meet in Costa Mesa. That's the first time we met in person, and we met in person there. We were given the keys of the RV. We started training, and Genesis was completely paranoid because I had just, and we all were, right, because we've never driven that. But I had an accident January 3rd, and we were gonna hit the road January 15th. So I had an accident on a small Honda Civic. Now you
Oh,
throw me into a giant green RV? Yeah, no, thank you. So I communicated that to them, and thankfully I love them both. They're like, don't worry, Gigi, we got you. Um, but we did lots of training for that. That's when we first met at that office.
wow. Well, now that you're talking about that, so I saw several of the webisodes of you all driving the big green RV. So, what was that like learning to drive? Because that's a pretty significant, and it sounds like the Marilla and Jess, both of you were a little hesitant to drive that like green machine. So,
I
what was
think
that like? Even for you, Sarah, what was that like? Because that's pretty intense.
For me, I love
drove the most.
that was awesome for me when I heard that we were gonna drive an RV. At first I was like, dang, it's a pretty big RV. But then once I saw it, I'm like, okay, it's really big. But I was really excited to drive it because growing up when I was like 15, 16, my uncle, he's an entrepreneur. So he had his own warehouse and I would always help him out as a kid. And that's when I learned how to drive. He put me in like a big truck. And that's when I lost that fear of driving. So then when I got a chance to drive an RV, I'm like, okay, this is next level. But it was really exciting for me because I feel like I had the experience before of driving a bigger truck. But once we got on the freeway, I actually felt more safe in the RV than in my own car. Because when you think
Oh,
about it, like my own car, I have a little car, Nissan Versa. when I go on the freeway, I'm scared because my car is tiny compared to other cars. But when you're in the freeway driving an RV, it's really powerful. So people are gonna get out of your way. They're not gonna want to like when we're trying to switch lanes. People would usually let us go through because they're more scared
Sure.
of us, if that makes sense. So it really just made me a better driver, one for sure, but also it made me lose the fear of like it's not as scary as it looks. But that's from my perspective because I've never been in like car accident, and I've always loved driving. But for them, it was a little different. Like Nella had never gone on the freeway, and then Gigi just came out of an accident, so I couldn't even imagine like the fear that Gigi was going through. So I kind of volunteered. I'm like, if anyone needs me to drive, I'll drive. I'll take it.
Real
Um,
MVP.
For
That
relationship wise, because the first day we trained to drive the RV, that's how we really bonded, all three of us. Because in order to drive the RV, you need each other's support, you know.
yeah.
Because you can't really drive the RV alone because you need a navigator, you need someone outside if you're gonna back up. I even back up on a fence, I remember. Um, and I was so scared that I even took like an extra insurance for that. Yeah. But it was kind of empowering in a way to drive the RV because yeah, everyone will like drive away from you, and I it's weird because it doesn't have the mirror for the back. It's weird. I don't know. Yeah.
Wow, that's good. I've never driven an RV. I think I'd be a little scared.
I
So,
remember. I think I remember
I
there was
salute
like,
you all.
yeah. Can we put this in our resume? Like the skills. Yeah.
Sure you can. You can
Yeah.
like you can list it in there. Why not? Under like fun things. You can put like a little bit of your experiences from Roadtrip Nation. I hope you do, and
We
you can put it on, yeah, RV driving. That's
survived.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So speaking of the RV, what was it like living together in such a confined space? Because I mean, it's, in the webisode, the camera kind of makes it look large, but it's really a confined space. So what was that like?
Um, it was intimidating at first as a female
Sure.
because the only two females on board were Genesis and Ranella. Our cameramen were both males, and then they're male. So three guys, two females. And complete strangers because
Yeah.
I just met them, right? So Ranella and I, we were like, I got you, you got me. I at all times, right? And we made that promise. We established it at the very beginning. We're like, Ranella, if I
Mm.
ever have to go to the bathroom, come with me. And for her too, like if she had to go to the bathroom, I would go with her because we would park in an RV park, right?
Oh, sure.
So there was just all around strangers, but that's how we felt. But then at first we fell in love and we're like, we feel safe. But at first, we learned to balance out the toiletries and, help each other with the cleaning because you have to take out the trash bags.
Oh.
Right. Yeah. Because all our trash, all the hot Cheetos we were eating, all the chips, all the coffee bags and stuff that Jennifer kept making, it stacked up. Right. So we would take
Sure.
turns. Um, but it took a couple days and then we felt comfortable. That was my feeling. What about you, Nella?
I have no problems living with like a confined space because I'm used to it. But my problem was it was so cold in the RV even when the heater on, and
Oh.
I have no problem with Genesis and Caesar because both all of us are like really clean and we're really conscious about the dishes and the organization, and like we even bought like Fabuloso just to make because I can't stand dirty floors, so like we have to do it.
I love that you used Fabuloso. That is like my favorite cleaning supply. That is awesome. The colors, like, it's perfect.
Sleep wise, like I have no problem, but like I get pissed whenever Caesar sleeps because he sleeps the earliest among us, and I was like, "Don't, dude, shouldn't we be talking? Why are you sleeping?" And Genesis is the latest one to sleep, but we naturally wake up all like at 5 a.m. and we don't really bother each other. Except me, I always bother them, but
So you're the one that kept everybody up in the group.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
See, they agree.
Yeah, I think just going back to the experience with me, just living with other people, that's never been like a problem for me because I grew up with like a household with a lot of people. But me, I'm like a very like clean freak. I like organization. So that was one thing I was kind of scared about. But like Renella and Gigi, they're super clean people. They ended up fabuloso. We left that RV looking better than we found it. I'll tell you that.
That is awesome. That's like, it takes a Titan to do that. That is awesome.
Yeah, I really loved how seeing them and us just kind of be like adults and cleaning up, even though that wasn't our RV or like our permanent spot. We really liked being in like a clean environment. So that made it feel kind of like a home feeling to it. Other than that, just the schedules would at the beginning we did kind of like conflict because like Nella said, I would go to sleep like at 9 or 10, but that's just kind of like my natural routine. And then Nella would sleep like 1 or 2, right? That was like before the road trip, she would sleep really late. But then as like we started interviewing people, we would kind of have to sleep early because we would have to wake up. So eventually they kind of got on my schedule, but that was about.
That's still pretty early, by the way. 5 o'clock is like kind of a little harsh, but we'll go with it.
One thing though, just to add, that's like one of the things we found in common with the people we interviewed.
Yeah.
Really?
Early. Like if there is something that we found a pattern, like after every interview, we're like, did you just realize that person wakes up early too? Like I think it was like Tam and then Victor, both of them said 5 a.m. That's when I started our day. So there's like little nuggets we were able to get from them too. Like there's power in waking up early too.
That is true. I will say there is power in waking up early. You feel like you're more present and you get a lot more out of the day. So good for you. That's a good skill to have learned. You can put that in your resume too. You're an early riser. So what was the funniest or most memorable story for each of you from life on the road?
Ooh, that's a good question. It's hard to just choose one.
I'm only gonna mention 2.
Okay.
For Caesar, I remember we went to Universal Studios, and so we met the dinosaurs. And Genesis was like so happy. She was so in love with the dinosaurs. She was like, oh, like how, like she was acting like the dinosaurs were newborn babies, basically. But and then Caesar, well, me and Caesar were watching Genesis. Caesar was like, it's not a real dinosaur, right? I just remember Caesar that way forever. I'm gonna remember him that way forever. And for Genesis, the most memorable was my first day with her, like physically. We went to the orientation. She told us about her story. We were talking with the what do you call them? The owners, the CEOs of Roadtrip Nation. Oh, the
Yes.
founders.
The founders. Uh-huh.
Told us about her story, her mother's story, and I just started crying. We were all crying, and throughout the whole trip, whenever she mentions her mom's story, I can't stop myself from crying. I'll be like, oh no, she's gonna say it. I'm gonna cry. Oh my god, my mascara. That's how I remember Genesis.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I would have to say if I had to just, but I don't know if I could just choose one, but I'm gonna try. If I had to choose one, it would have to be the day we were in an RV. I want to say it was the last week when we were wrapping things up. And they always got Genesis as the leader with activities. Like, Genesis, where should we go? What should we do? Genesis, what? And I'm like, get ready. This is what we're going to do tonight. And they're like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And the night came. And I was like, grab your phone or your notebook, because we all brought a journal and we were journaling. Grab a notebook or grab your phone and write a letter to the person next to you. You have 5 minutes to write a letter. When the 5 minutes are done, we're gonna read it out loud to the person on your left. So for example, in this circle right now, Ranella would read her letter to Caesar. Caesar would read his letter to me, and I would read mine to Ranella. And then we reciprocated that the other way around. I wrote a letter after we were done writing that letter. Genesis had to write a letter to Caesar, and Caesar would have to write a letter to Ranella. And we just went around that way, right? And then after we were done writing the letters, I'm like, okay, guys, let's read it out loud to each other.
Oh.
And we went left and then we went right, and tears came down because we didn't want to let go of each other. It was bittersweet, you know. We absolutely fell in love with each other's presence. So, I mean, I loved the entire trip, and the video doesn't capture everything and how beautiful it was. But that moment, like when we cried and we read a letter, a genuine letter to each other, that was my favorite memory.
Oh, sounds like you all really formed a strong bond. That is so wonderful that you all started out as, strangers and then developed a really strong bond as Titans. That's amazing. That's really good. It warms my heart because that's, I think, part of the experience of coming to college is getting to know people that are, different than you, but then you find that you have a lot of commonalities with them. Everything, from just your stories. That is really, really neat. Um, Caesar, anything you want to, or Ranella, anything you want to add?
Both of the ones that they say, I have kind of forgotten about them, to be honest, but I remember again, and I think about like the feelings, and because there's a lot of memories. Like it's hard when you say, what is one thing? I think about it like all as a whole, and even continuing right now, I feel like we're still creating memories because I still have like a friendship with Gigi and Ella, and we're still seeing each other grow. So there's like you said, there's a lot that there wasn't seen in the art, like in the road trip, but that we were able to experience. And I'm just thinking about one experience, and I don't know if it was like the most memorable, but it was when we went to San Diego. We did an interview, and then it was like 8, 9 p.m. and we're like, all right, we're gonna go get food. We get food, and then after that, we walk around the city, and it was really lonely. Like this was during January, so Christmas just happened, and it seems like there's not a lot of people out. So I remember we were just kind of like chilling at a spot, looked like a park, and we go back to being alone, and kind of in that space where we have to start kind of thinking about, so what's next? Like there was no distractions, and we were just talking like, so what do you think we're gonna do next? Like, and everything we've been learning, and just kind of talking about the people we had interviewed before and all that. But kind of like we always get back to that spot where when it's silent, it's like you got to start thinking about those big questions, like, so what are you gonna do? What's next? And it just kind of reminded me, like, it doesn't matter if you're in San Diego and Anaheim, LA, you're always gonna have to answer those questions, and you can't hide from them.
Yeah. So, kind of speaking a little bit of that, what's next for you all? You got to interview some pretty cool alum along the way. We want folks to watch that webisode, so I won't ask you too much about that. But are there any other alums that you wish you would have been able to connect with, and maybe give us a little bit of what did you learn? Were you nervous? What did you learn about our Titan alums?
Personally, I tell myself, Genesis, what didn't you learn?
Ah.
I learned so much, but one of the main things that I personally learned it was more of a confirmation for me, and I say it throughout the documentaries. Money isn't it, right? And money's beautiful, money's great, yes, but it shouldn't be my number one motive in what I'm pursuing and what I'm aiming, right? Especially after interviewing President Fran Burgi. My goodness, we cried. Both Ranella and I cried after the interview, because we are so blessed to have such a phenomenal president.
Yeah.
But in the interview, he mentioned this book to us.
Oh, yeah.
Mountain by David Brooks. And I purchased it. I'm reading it, still reading it. And my biggest thing is Genesis. This is my big takeaway. create space in your heart when you give. When you give, what you're doing is you're creating space in your heart, which led me to really, really, really set the stone in the ground in pursuing social work or to become a therapist. What was stopping me was the money, the income that they make. But then I'm going to give from my heart. I'm a giver, I'm a people person, and I want to help people, right? And so in this profession, God willing, I'm going to be giving and I'm going to be helping people, which is what I love to do, right? So I found a huge confirmation. Like, Genesis, do it. You're going to love it. Don't be miserable. Enjoy what you do. Love it.
That is a good nugget to learn, especially early on, and as you know are getting ready to finish or have finished like these are. That is one of the things that is a good lesson. Cesar Oronella.
Go first, Caesar.
I'll go. So when you say who would we interview, I'm just interested to interview all the CSCF alumni at this point because
That's a lot of people. You're like looking at like at least like 300,000 or something.
if I can learn one thing from each CSCF alumni, I think that's all I need, to be honest. Because I didn't think about like tight ends or the alumni we had to be like quote unquote successful. Because when we think about success, we think about like people who are like on Forbes or they have to have like this much net worth. But we've broken that down, and success doesn't have to necessarily be a number
Right.
or a title. Like it just comes like through the characters we learned about, the people, their stories. It's huge, and I think that all tight ends, wherever they start from, I think they have something to share with other people. And it doesn't matter if maybe we don't go to UCLA, to USC, but we have a story and we have something beautiful that not a lot of other college students have. Like we have that drive to want to
Yes.
be successful and to knock walls down, even if they're built. Like we're gonna get to where we're gonna get, and it's a mindset that not a lot of other college students have. And that's like one thing that I took away. And when people say what's next, I think that's a big question, and I think that we're always evolving as people. You know, when I was a junior, I thought what's next is maybe I'll be a Spanish teacher, and that was it, right? And then I got there, I got to being a senior, and then I asked myself the question again, like, what's next? And the older you get, I feel like that question gets a little harder to answer because you gain more wisdom along the way. And then it's harder because I'm like, you know what? I want to reach a little bit higher. So for me, I graduated and I was doing an internship with the federal government. I was supposed to go to DC, but due to COVID, I had to do it from home. I still did it. And over the process, I realized that I was a Spanish translator intern. Over the process, I realized that just because I majored in Spanish doesn't mean I have to stick to this specific path. Like I didn't think that's what made me happy. Like, yes, I was grateful I had a job, but I wasn't still fulfilling my purpose and I wasn't tapping into what I'm here to do. So I finished my internship and then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start studying for law school because that's a thought I had in the past. And I'm like, let's get to it. I start study for 2 months. And I'm like, I think almost 2 more weeks before taking the actual law school exam, I started asking myself again, like, why do I want to do this? And I started thinking about like the road trip interviews, the people we interviewed, and the reasons weren't there. I was like, you know what? I'm doing this because I'm chasing the money, to be honest. I'm chasing that title. I'm chasing being successful because as a Latinx student, for us, I feel like it's either you're a doctor or you're a lawyer. Everything else before that doesn't really matter. It's not like you made it, right?
Right.
But I had to answer those questions and I'm like, you know what? This is not my path. And I'm like, I'm okay with that. I made peace with that. And I said, nope, law school is not it. Maybe down the road if that thought comes in again. But I'm like, what really makes me happy? When was I the happiest? What brought me joy? And I thought about when I was a college student working at a high school as a college mentor. And I was guiding students, mentoring them, giving them advice, helping them get to college. I'm like, you know what? That's what made me happy. It may have not made me the most money, but I would rather be happy than make a lot of money and not be impacting lives. So with all that being said, I decided to apply to a grad program in higher education, hoping to be a college counselor. And we'll see where I get in. That's kind of where I'm at. And everything I've learned through the road trip, like every day I wake up, I still think about like the people we interview and everything. I'm like, you know what? We're gonna get to where we need to get. It's a process. Enjoy it. And if things change, that's okay too. Like we don't have to be so narrow and like this is what I have
Yes.
to do. This, or nothing. Like we gave ourselves permission to be okay with sometimes putting a pause on things and just kind of trusting yourself and doing what makes you happy because we're going to have long careers. And if we're not enjoying it, then what's the point?
Wow. So that is both you and Genesis. That's very, very powerful and very true. It is about, you enjoying your job and having that passion from within, and it shows too. So that's wonderful that you got that out of this. That's huge. Ranella, what about you?
Initially, because I wanted to go into video gaming industry, and so we had alumni that is currently working with video game companies, and I wanted to interview them, but we due to a lot of difficulties because it was also like holidays, so
Oh,
yeah, we didn't really get to interview them. But the thing is, I found so many connections with the people we interviewed, and I'm really grateful. It's not like they told me like what I'm gonna do next. Like after the road trip, I didn't really figure out what I'm gonna do next, but I know in myself that I was well prepared. I felt like I was better. I
hmm,
had better armor against what's gonna happen in the future, and I got the wisdom that you wouldn't really get to um, know unless you went into that road trip. It's different, when you went to the road trip and watching the episodes, it's entirely different. I went in the RV full of worries about my future. I went out of the RV confident that I will be okay. There's no one-way path to success. It's okay to change your minds. Change your mind. Your bachelor's degree will not define your whole life. You
that's
will
right.
you will find a way. You will find a career that you will love and will connect to your interests. And maybe that job isn't created yet. But my biggest take is that the world is a very big place, and don't listen to the people who try to limit your imagination and what you can do.
Wow. I feel like all three of you just dropped the mic. I don't know what else to say after that. I don't know what else I could ask you that would even get at just how powerful the lessons that you are walking away from Road Trip Nation and having had that experience collectively together, but then also individually. Just hearing you all say that, just like totally warms my heart as well. It sounds like this really shaped. Uh, thoughts about yourselves and about the future, which is like wow. And you've shared your professional ambitions and what you want to do, and I think that is so great to see all of you. And I just have to affirm once again that you are all thinking about your future in the right way in terms of not letting anyone stop you. Don't listen to the haters, keep going. And that it's about what you're passionate about. So I think that's amazingly wonderful. So let me ask you this. So after, Cesar, for you, you've graduated, and Ranella, and I guess Gigi. I was calling you Genesis, but I've heard them call you Gigi. So we're gonna go with it. After you graduate, are you willing to be interviewed by future students? And what advice, I guess, would you think that you'd want to give them?
Of course, I would be completely willing to speak to students. I got invited to speak to Rio Hondo students because of the documentary.
Mm,
And I would love to do it every single day if I could. And what I gave them, my words of encouragement to them and to the future students, if I ever am called, would be that there is no teacher, there
mm,
is no school, there's nothing that will tell you, hey kid, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, so that you can be successful. There is nothing.
yeah.
All we have is pressure from society, very egocentric, very like ambitious and make bank, make money, think about yourself, and a society that finds pleasure in materialistic things, right? And so I would say, guys, do what you love. And if you are ever told, hey, that's not going to give you a lot of money, just make a way where there is no way, right? Pave your way. For example, Roadtrip Nation was created by 3 young men who had no idea what the hell they wanted to do with their lives. They hopped on one RV, went around, talked to people, and years later, look at this big giant organization that helps kids around the world find what they want to do. So use your imagination, use what you're passionate about, and the sky is the limit. That's what I would say.
Wow. Another mic drop. Boom. Caesar, what do you got?
Of course, that's not even a question. If I would be so happy to say yes and talk to as many students as I can. I actually told Gigi before this. I was like, I wish COVID would have not happened, so we would have been able to have this conversation
Yes.
and speak about our like experiences, answer questions, because we have so much to share. And I think even just this itself is not enough. We can talk for days. Like we learned so much from these people. But just my advice is this is not a mile. This is a marathon, and you gotta know what makes you tick, what makes you happy, what brings you joy. And like Gigi was saying, our society right now, I hate to say it, but social media is telling us that money, houses, cars, this is success, right? And we only see the end result of that. We don't see the process of how people get to all those things. Nothing wrong with having nice things. I'm not against that. Like if that motivates you, that's awesome. But there's a lot of things that we don't see behind the screen. So students just need to know that they need to be themselves, and through that they'll find what makes them happy, what helps them bring value to the world. There's not like A plus B equals C, right?
Yeah.
In your career in life, there's no A plus B equals C. Um, and along the way, doors will open for you. Some doors will close. At the moment, you may not know why that door didn't open. But looking back, like Steve Jobs said, the dots will start connecting.
Yeah.
And you'll be surprised. Like you never know what comes out of it. Just be nice to people, especially when you're in college. We're all in our 20s. You don't know who's going to be the successful one. You don't know who's going to offer you a job later. Be nice to people, treat everyone with respect, and that will show a lot more than the degree you got, the school you went to. Your character speaks so much more than the titles that you get or the papers that you end up accomplishing.
Amen. That is awesome. Ranella, what do you think?
Um, well, when I was during the road trip, Caesar and Genesis would always stress on giving back to the community. And I was like, I'm new to this community. I don't know. I'm like, I'm not really interested. But then as I got to know the people we interviewed and then I got to know them, I was, especially when I met Gigi's mom, um, she, it just like I want to give back, and I was really motivated to learn Spanish, so I could talk to Gigi's mom more, so I could reach out to other people's story, to know their stories, and if ever in time that students want to interview me, yes, I would help, because I I think it's really important to give back to the community. At first, I didn't really see the importance, but now, yeah, because like, what if there's someone, an immigrant, who went to the same shoes as me? She's alone, he's alone, and I want to give back, and I want to give back financially. Like, I would want to help them through their school, through their living. And I was thinking, I really want to help like single mothers out there. I know it's not students, but like I, indirectly, you kind of help the students in that way too. And the advice that I want to give to students is, don't let the stereotypes get to you. Especially with our majors, all 3 of us. Caesar is like, what are you gonna do with Spanish? You're gonna be a Spanish teacher. Gigi, what are you gonna do with your major, are you going to be a social worker? For me, it's always like, are you going to be an English teacher? And that kind of limits like what I can do. And it hurts sometimes, and it makes you doubt yourself, like, I'm just going to be an English teacher. But I could do so many things with my major. And I hope that the future students don't let that get that stigma, you know?
Hmm.
Don't stereotype majors. And your bachelor's degree is just going to be a pillar. It's just another step to make you closer to what you want. It's not really what's gonna define your growth. Yeah.
Wow. Again, very, very true. You've all said some like very powerful things, and I'm glad that you're willing to be interviewed by future students, and maybe who knows? Hopefully, we'll be able to do another road trip. You can give them your tips and tricks. So we're coming to a close of our interview time. Anything that you all want to share? Because we're going to show this video, even though it's like this, and we can't do it at the TSU, at least for now. When we're back in person, we might call you all back and have you do it. But anything that you want to share, because we're this video is going to be shown to all all of the peoples, and we're going to share it with our students, because what you've shared is just super amazing in terms of the lessons learned. So anything you want to add?
I would say, if there is anyone who would like to reach out to me personally, don't hesitate. Please reach out to me. I have an Instagram. Find me on LinkedIn. You can easily find me. Uh,
Nice.
and also, if you were under the impression of, oh my gosh, Caesar, Ranella, Genesis, they're probably very cocky, very stuck up. They've lost their humbleness. Like, look, they don't even come from a very high prestigious background. And look at them. They think they're all that. Wrong. You are absolutely wrong. We were never seeking to be famous or seeking approval or admiration. Never. As a matter of fact, let me say this. What we did is we got 100% vulnerable,
Hmm.
and we disclosed so much of our lives that we often put behind the curtains. For instance, Genesis. I live in a very, very small house with 10 people. I don't have any type of privacy in my house. I'm a first generation college student. I've had 2 jobs. It's tough. So we disclosed our background to show you that we are not cocky and we do not come from a background with lots of money. We are 3 imperfect human beings who got mega vulnerable to give you encouragement that you can be against the odds and make a way where there is no way. So
Hmm. Thank you for sharing that, Genesis. Renella or Caesar, anything you wanna close us out with?
Yeah, like Gigi said, all open to answer questions from future students or students who are in a position where they're not sure what's next. I can't give you that kind of answer like do this and you'll be this, right? That's not what I'm gonna tell you, but I'm open to helping you in any way that I can. I think that as a college grad already, undergraduate, school is not the end point of where you when you stop learning. That's just the beginning. I thought like, oh, once you finish college, there I know everything, right? No,
Ha.
you got a lot to learn. There's things that you can't learn in the textbook that you're gonna have to learn through experience, through life, um, and just always be learning. Always be open to gain wisdom from other people. Never think you're the smartest one in the room. Surround yourself with people who want to set the bar higher, who inspire you, who motivate you, who support you, and who don't have any envy on you. You want to be surrounded with people who want to see you thrive, but at the same time, they know that that doesn't mean that you're no longer that person you once were. You know, we evolve, and I always keep that with me, always remaining humble. I may change a bit, but that's just because I have new perspectives towards life. I don't want to change to be like, oh, I'm better than Gigi now. Like, I can't talk to Gigi, or oh, Nella, sorry, I can't talk to you. I graduated. Like, no, that's not why I want to learn more. I want to learn more so that I can inspire people more, I can motivate people more, and I can make the people around me better versions of themselves too. And just always be learning. Like, you never know what you can learn from when you walk into a room or you just hear a podcast, pick up a new book. Like, there might be something that can change your life and your perspective. Don't think that, like, once you finish college, that's it. You're going to keep learning things and just have an open mindset. That's all I can say. Don't think that just because you're not where you're at right now doesn't mean you won't get there. It's a delay doesn't mean it's denied.
Hmm. I like that, Cesar. Really nice way to put it. And Ranella,
I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to the English department at school. They have been they're they have been one of my fuels. You know, they've been really supportive. My professors are great. Um, my fellow English major, I know, and not just English major specifically. I know a lot of students go through a lot of pressure, not just from other people, specifically from their family, which
yeah.
sometimes hurt the pressures. And I think watching Road Trip Nation, or especially our episodes, go watch it. You know, uh, it will help you how to deal with those pressures, because sometimes I there was one point in my life that I just had so many voices, so many opinions, so many pressures that I was just like, oh, what am I gonna do? And yeah, and also I think the one thing I remember from our president is don't be afraid of failures, because from
Yeah.
failures you learn a lot of things. Yeah.
Yep. Very true. Wow, you've all dropped some serious wisdom and shared some really good stuff. I think I'm super inspired. I might go watch the webisodes again. I love it. It's awesome. Well, thank you, Cesar, Genesis, Gigi, and Rilla for sharing your time and wisdom with all future. Now it's in perpetuity. Now you're like TV stars. Do you feel like TV stars or no?
I to get to know for the president to get to know my name, and that those amazing people that were interviewed to get to know my name, I'm like, I must have done something right, you know. So
You
not
got into Road Trip. That's what you did right.
yeah, not really popular, but like for just the president to know me, like I probably did something good for my school. Yeah.
Very much appreciated. Well, thank you. Thank you all for taking the time. We really appreciate it. And yes, I hope that future generation of Cal State Fullerton students check out the webisodes and get to know you through LinkedIn, and you can help future Titans. So very much appreciated. I'm so glad you're in the Titan family. Thank you for being super awesome students. I'm glad that I just got to know you in this little bit. So be well, be joyous. Thank you. And thanks to the students who tuned in. Bye.